Hi guys, I'm Ken, the Boring Fisherman. Today, I'm doing something kind of related to fishing. Uh, there's this little old man that I know, he's probably in his 70s. He asked me to do some work on his outboard, got it in the barn. He didn't have a gas can, so I'm giving him this one. And he didn't have a fuel line to go with it, so I've got some parts here and I'm going to build him a fuel line. So, what he did have was this fuel ball here and a short piece of fuel line. And so I went and bought some more fuel line. This is the heavy wall marine grade stuff. And he didn't have a fuel fitting for the motor or a gas tank. He didn't have a gas tank. And I happen to have both of those, one that fits the gas tank and one that fits the motor. Whenever I build a fuel line for a little outboard, I like to put an inline fuel filter in, one of the clear ones, so you can see what kind of junk you got going on. And we're going to go ahead and build this fuel line. These fuel balls, they always show you what direction the flow is. So gas goes this direction, so that means this hose goes to the motor. I always like my filter to be downstream from the tank, and they're also labeled which direction they're intended for the flow. So I'm going to start by putting the hose clamp on the line first. I'll go ahead and open it up so I know it'll fit. Then I'm going to take that fuel filter, push that on there, just like that. So you can see there's a barb here. You push the fuel line on over that, and then you want to put the hose clamp to where it's between the barb and the filter. Go ahead and tighten that up real quick. Okay, you don't need to over tighten these. You don't need to go super tight with them. You can see it starting to squish the hose a little bit. That's about all the tighter you really need to get. If it leaks, you can tighten a little bit more. Now at this point, I'm going to cut a little section of this off. I got some scissors, and I'm just going to go ahead and judge it as being about there. That should be plenty. So, same thing, I'm going to go ahead and stick the fuel or the hose clamps on this first. This hose is a little bit thicker than the hose that he had. Open these up quite a bit, but they'll all squish down. I like them all facing the same way. Kind of picky like that. So the same thing, I'm going to push the hose on over the barb all the way up tight. Then I'm going to push the hose clamp down to where it's, oh that's too far, to where it's between the barb and the filter. I'll go ahead and tighten that up. Okay, and then the remaining end here. So this is a mercury fitting, and this one is an Evinrude fitting. They're very similar, but the size of the ball is different, the check valves in these. The bigger one is the mercury, which fits his Mariner outboard, and it's the same thing. This one's got multiple barbs, but I'm just going to push that into the fuel line, just like that, and then go ahead and push the hose clamp on. I need to open it up a little bit more because the hose expanded. Just push that on there. It's above the beginning of the barb, and I always like to clock the hose clamp on the opposite side from the release on the fuel fitting, because if you have this turned the other way, you won't be able to push the button to release the fuel fitting. Okay. Now we're going to go the other way. So this end of the bulb would be the end that gets fed from the tank. Now I want to go ahead and open a clamp up and put on that. I'm just going to push that on. Okay, you can see where the hose expanded, where that barb is. I'm going to have to open the clamp more because the hose expanded. Okay, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten that clamp up. Okay. Same thing on this other end. Go a little extra. Now this end that we determined was the Evinrude fitting matches up with this fitting here. I'll go ahead and push that into the hose. That one went a little easier. And I'm going to clock the hose clamp again, opposite of the release on the fill fitting. Okay, there we have one fuel line for an outboard. That's how I like to set them up, is with an inline fuel filter so that you can see what your fuel looks like. You can see if it's got any chunks in it. You can just tell what's going on. And everything flows the same direction. And that's how you put together a fuel line for a small outboard.